Hello, and welcome to Songwriter Spotlight, the Western Mass Songwriters Collaborative Series. I'm Dr. Dan, your host of the show, where we feature Western Mass songwriters who perform their original songs and talk about the art of songwriting. Stay tuned to explore more about music and the tunesmithing that creates it. Our songwriter on this episode is Dylan Patrick Ward, who's been writing songs inspired by indie folk songwriters and the likes of John Prine and Randy Newman. His subtle irony and humor help convey a deep sense of the human experience. Here's Dylan Patrick Ward.
If I was a cat, I'd sit in the window. I would lick my butthole while you watch TV. If I was a cat, I'd sit down beside your head and lick the space between my toes when you were trying to sleep. And if I was a cat, I'd lay down by the door and look up at you with sad eyes when you tried to leave. And if I was a cat and you were feeling sad, I'd sit down beside you and keep you company. If I was a cat, I'd eat a bunch of plastic, and then you'd have to chase me down and take it from my mouth. If I was a cat, I'd chase all the bugs around, but I would never catch a one and never catch a mouse. And if I was a cat, I'd cry outside the bathroom door, and I would not stop crying until you came back out. If I was a cat, on lazy Sunday afternoons, you and I would take a nap together on the couch. And I would miss the beer, and I would miss the movie theater, and I would miss the human food, and I would miss the sex. And I'm not so crazy about dying when I'm 15, but I guess I wouldn't know no better, and I guess that would be best. If I was a cat and you had people over, I'd hiss at all the children, swat at the old guys. If I got outside, I would fight a dog, and I'd get uglier and meaner with each year that went by. And I'd hate every person and every other cat and every animal thing that wasn't you. And one day you would find me dead behind the futon, and then you'd stick me in an urn and go get someone new. First you'd cry, just like I'd cry when you would capture me, take me to the vet. If I was a cat, I'd be miserable and lazy, but you would still love me because I was your pet. If I was a cat, I would drive you crazy, but you would still love me because I was your pet. This song's called New Year's Eve. TV's broken and there's no internet. The only clock's on the stove and it's not accurate. We poached a Christmas tree in the woods nearby. Now it's dried up and brown in the yard. We smoke menthol lights like it's some kind of sacrament. In an illegal apartment, in an abandoned garage that we've all been calling a house. It's New Year's Eve in the dirty South. There are some parties, but no one invited us. We're all another year older, and that kind of frightens us. Steal a bottle of wine, the butt can from Cumbies, get drunk and look up at the stars. Sing real loud like it'll all be alright for us. You say this year will be different, but I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. It's New Year's Eve in the dirty South. It's New Year's Eve in the dirty South. It's fun when you're young, but it's gotta end. Sucks to be lonely, it's good to have friends. But the lines get crossed and the police catch up. No matter how fast you can run, then it's time for the detox, time to make amends. But for now, the clock tower's striking midnight, and we know what life is about. It's New Year's Eve in the dirty South. It's New Year's Eve in the dirty South. Kind of about like the people that I used to hang out with and the places that I used to hang out, and trying to imagine how those people would celebrate New Year's Eve. This next song is called Little Green Men. It's kind of inspired by an experience I had when I was 15, and I saw the History Channel show Ancient Aliens. And the show Ancient Aliens, for those of you who aren't familiar, is it makes the argument that alien civilizations came down to Earth and gave advanced technology to ancient human civilizations. And that's how they were able to build the pyramids and things like that. And I remember watching it when I was 15 and being completely blown away and completely convinced that it was true, and telling absolutely everybody that I knew about it, and I was so excited. And I kind of miss believing in it. Like, there was something very comforting about believing that there was intelligent life out there and that they were looking after us. And then years later, when I was writing a song about something completely different, that idea kind of snuck its way in. And kind of this song came out of it. It's called Little Green Man. Dad was in the army and your mom dropped out of college. You're working at a hotel, living at your dead aunt's house. You got a 4-year party and a whole lot of useless knowledge. One bad day away from emptying your bank account. Money's tight, but you're always at the bar. Those are UFOs, not shooting stars. You're a real nice guy and everyone seems to like you. You're not bad looking and people always say you're smart. There ain't much about life left to excite you. You got a new beer belly, gray hairs, and a broken heart. Hold your breath every time you start your car. Get upset every time you can't see Mars. Got a cousin down south who thinks that the world is ending, but he's got guns and dry goods to see him through. But you can't think of a message that's worth sending to the little green men who are looking after you. You hear a little voice outside the bar telling you to stay right where you are. All right, this is a song. This next song is a song about Richard Nixon. It's called "Oh Nixon." Oh Nixon, I'm a lot like you, bitter and resentful, no matter how well I do. Oh Nixon, is it ever enough? Can we ever just appreciate it? Can we ever just lighten up? Jackie tried to warn you there's no peace in the presidency. You end up with your head blown off or resigning on TV. Oh Nixon, you never did fit in with the Franklins of your day or the Yale boys at the CIA. Oh Nixon, you were too low class. You had to do their dirty work. You always had to kiss their ass. You can win it in a landslide, but it still feels like defeat. And it all tastes so bitter, the things that looked so sweet. Oh Nixon, standing by the Citgo sign, flashing double V's. Oh Nixon, will there ever be peace? Oh Nixon, oh Nixon. This next song is called Zolpidem. Zolpidem is a sleeping medication. It's the generic form of Ambien. May cause hallucinations and sleepwalking. Zolpidem, you worm your way into the hearts of men. I try to hate you, but I can't pretend, 'cause in the end I'll come crawling back to you. Zolpidem, you got me sleeping in the chair again. You got me drooling on the couch cushions. I know it's a sin to ask so much of you, but I remember what it was like just laying in bed all night, bloodshot eyes, until you heard my cries. Zolpidem, so much better than melatonin. I swear I'll never waste my time again with Tylenol PM. It's you and only you. Zolpidem, I'm nodding not behind the wheel again. I'm losing touch with what is real again. They say you're no friend, but I know it's not true. Some folks dream of heaven, but all I want after I die is a good night's sleep for eternity without Zolpidem. I hate you, Zolpidem. I love you, Zolpidem. I love you, Zolpidem. This song is called A Friendly Place. This is the last song I'm going to do today. Homeless people set up shop in the Chinese buffet parking lot. Old men drinking paps down at the park. Dirty barefoot kids with pop guns terrorize the pharmacy. Just make sure you get home before dark. Drinking vodka by the handle, yuppies wearing socks with sandals. School board meetings, Facebook come to life. QAnon and revolution, everyone's got their solution that they'll tell you all about tonight. Carney's selling glowing hats in an alley full of feral cats. Fireworks light up the skies at night. Severance pay for crooked cops. Slumlords buy up vacant lots. Buprenorphine makes you feel alright. Artists drinking gin and tonic. Old arcades become ironic. Football team just got another win. Public access TV stations full of doomsday revelations. Ice cream parlors still raking it in. Swimming hole is full of trash. E. coli and broken glass. Laundromat where all the deals go down. Cumby's pizza, natty ice, Velveeta on minute rice, Black Bear roaming free around the town. Temporary traffic light, local taverns open mic, lovers quarrel, fist fight in the square. Basketball hoops with no nets, ban on menthol cigarettes, nowhere local to buy underwear. Scholarships for bright young kids doing what their parents did. Old folks on the porches griping things just ain't the same. Turtle sandbox, wiffle bat, Shriners with their little hats. Old bathtub fills up with summer rain.
Dylan, I really enjoyed that.
Oh, thank you so much.
The lyrics, some of your lyrics just knocked me out. I just got a big kick out of it.
Oh, thank you.
And I was
Thanks.
stifling my guffaws as you were singing.
No, it's good. You should have laughed. I think it would have been good would have made me look good. Making somebody laugh in the crowd.
Well, you don't need me to make you look good, Dylan. That was nice.
Thank you.
So how long you been doing this?
I started like messing around, trying to learn how to play guitar in college, and I wrote like a few songs then. But I didn't get like serious about songwriting until like 2018, 2019. And then around very early 2020, I started to write stuff that I liked and started to release stuff online. And then I think it was summer of 2021 that I started playing out, like playing gigs and stuff. So a few years, give or take.
Not a long time, but you've come a long ways.
No, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So had you ever written before you were writing songs?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried like a bunch of different mediums. I've always wanted to like write and create stuff, but so I tried to write fiction for a while, and I did stand-up comedy like for a very short period of time in college and a little bit afterwards. In high school, I used to make short films and comedy sketches with my friends and things like that. So I used to write poems. So I tried a bunch of different things out, but songwriting was the one that kind of stuck and that kind of felt right. It felt natural for me. So.
So why do you do it?
I don't know. I mean, I've always kind of, like I said, I've always been trying to write and create stuff. I always gravitated even as a kid towards music and towards literature and film and stuff. And I don't know, but I can't imagine not doing it in some form. You know, I can't imagine like a life where I'm not writing and creating something. If it's not music in the future, maybe it'll be something else. But you know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure the deeper reasons for why.
Yeah.
But
So
I feel compelled to, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good answer. Good answer. So, are there some people or some performers who inspire your writing?
Yeah, the big ones for me would be the Mountain Goats, the Decemberists, that kind of like indie folk from like the late '90s, early 2000s. That's kind of a big model for me and what I'm trying to do with my songwriting. John Prine's a huge influence, although I kind of got into him late. I didn't get into him until after he died already, and after I'd started writing. But he's been a huge influence in terms of like, I don't know, adding humor into the songs and trying to singing about strange characters, but trying to have some compassion for the strange characters. I feel like he's really good at that. Randy Newman's a big influence as well. His dark humor is great.
Very dark, yes.
Yeah. So, and I like how he kind of really pushes the envelope to a point where it's almost like unpleasant, some of the songs that he writes for some people. But I feel like you almost have to risk unpleasantness to go to some of those territories, I feel like. So, yeah, I mean, I like a lot of folks, but those are some of my all-times go-tos.
Yeah, I can see that you inject a heavy dose of humor in your songs, so very enjoyable. And then some what, country sort of folk inspiration.
Yeah. I like when I first started writing songs, I thought, like a few years ago, I thought I was going to write in kind of the country idiom, and I kind of drifted over towards more indie folk stuff, but there's still a lot of that country stuff in there, and you know, some of my favorite artists like Billy Joe Shaver and Blaze Foley and Townes Van Sant, kind of in that country folk idiom. So that's
and they're happy to push the envelope anytime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, I really like that stuff. You know, it's kind of in my DNA. My dad was a big fan of that kind of music when he was a young man. So
yeah. So how would you describe your song? You've started a description. Can you build on that?
yeah, yeah. I tend to write about sort of outcasts, characters, strange kind of people on the brink. That kind of interests me. The kind of darker, more absurd aspects of life. But you know, the topics can be odd, but I try to keep the songs pretty, you know, like pop songs with the verses and choruses, and I try to make them catchy and pleasant to listen to, because that's, you know, that's what I like. Yeah, I try to tell stories. I don't do a lot of autobiographical stuff, although there's a lot drawn from my life and the place that I live and people that I've known, but it's not usually like strictly autobiographical, like this is a thing that happened to me. But so I kind of I take that like fiction writing thing into it a little bit.
So yeah, so the cat isn't necessarily a specific cat, but
yeah, it's a kind of a archetypal cat.
yeah, you reminded me a lot of my cats.
Yeah,
yes.
right. Well, a lot of people say that. I think that's what I was aiming for, because you know it's all drawn from cats that I've had over the years. So.
Let's see, so and John Prine kind of inspired your thinking about your songs, your music.
Yeah, I definitely felt a connection with him immediately when I started listening to his stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was almost like this is kind of what I was trying to accomplish as well. That empathy that he has and compassion for people, but also the humor and sort of I remember there was an interview where he talked about he explained his approach as optimistic pessimism, where he kind of sees the like dark, unpleasant parts of life and he just goes head first right into them, kind of believing that if you do that, it'll make it better. It'll, you know, help solve the problem or help make you feel better about it. So that's kind of, I take that approach.
Yeah, you certainly have dark areas in your songs, but we aren't damned or anything.
Yeah, I try not to make it too like over the top, gloomy. I like to kind of talk about dark things in a light way, I guess. That would be a way to say it.
Richard Nixon.
Yeah, Richard Nixon.
Yeah, goodness. That's fun. So when you're writing songs, how do you go about it?
My ideal is I like to write in the morning, before I've like looked at my phone or talked to anybody or kind of taken in anything. I like to sort of have a fresh mind that helps me kind of dig in there and come up with ideas better, I think. So usually like my ideal is to get up, make coffee, and then sit down and like drink coffee and write first thing in the morning. And it's almost always like started with the notebook and the pen, but with the guitar nearby. And I try to come up with like, sometimes I have ideas of people or stories that I'd like to tell, or sometimes I'm just flying blind, but I try to come up with a good line that kind of has a melody attached to it already. And then once I have that strong line with a melody attached to it, usually some other lines start to kind of tumble out. And then when I have like a few down, a lot of times I'll grab the guitar and figure out what the chords are. And then once I get kind of the structure of the song, I'll write the rest of the lyrics. And that's the ideal. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes I have an idea throughout the day, and then I have to come home from work and write the song really quickly, or I'll write it at night or whatever. But usually my ideal is to write it in the morning like that.
Mm-hmm. When you're writing, do you do a lot of editing?
I don't do a whole lot of editing. I usually have to, I kind of have like, I don't know if it's I get bored easily or if it's ADHD or what it is, but I'm always kind of on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. Where like I try to write a song in one sitting for the most part, and I might take out a verse later or change a word or change the tempo a little bit or the pitch, the key that it's in. But for the most part, like 90% of the song is usually I try to finish it in that first rough draft. I find that I can get caught up in the editing a little too much to the point where I take the song apart and I can't put it back together. So I usually try to leave it alone.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So. Do you have any suggestions for other people who want to, write songs or borrow some ideas?
Yeah. I'm still pretty early on to be giving a whole lot of advice, but I think like a couple things that I've realized that helped me a lot is like, with the lyrics, write about things that you're interested in or experiences that are unique to you, and try to find like what it is that you bring to the table specifically to music. It's easy to fall into the same tropes and feel like you have to write songs about what everybody else is writing songs about or things like that. And, we all kind of sound like the people that influence us, especially early on. That's inevitable. But what was really helpful for me is when I started to write about kind of the strange, quirky things from my own life and my own experience and kind of the things that I was interested in. And that's helped out a lot. And the other big thing is to just do it. Like, don't wait. I remember I wasted a lot of time feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough at playing guitar. I don't have like the right equipment or whatever to really write songs and put them out there. But if you know 3 chords on the guitar, you can start to write songs, and then you can learn another chord and write some more songs. You can record songs on your phone and put them out there. Like, it doesn't have your first thing you put out doesn't have to be this masterpiece, perfectly recorded, professional sounding thing, and you can get better as you go. And you can you don't have to wait until you're really good before you start putting stuff out. I think it's really good to just get started and then get that momentum going and get that kind of confidence. Mm-hmm. That's been helpful for me. Like in 2020, I just recorded a whole bunch of stuff in my bedroom and just kept putting it out online. And, I ended up putting out like 4 albums worth of songs. And there's probably only one really good album's worth of songs in that 4 albums of songs. But, just starting to put it out there was what kind of started the ball rolling and everything else. So I think it's really helpful to get stuff out and share it with people as soon as you can.
So in your sharing, do you learn stuff about your music and people's responses to it?
Yeah, a lot of times sometimes I'm surprised by what songs people really respond to. But, a lot of that comes from live, but also I'll get messages from people, be like, oh, I really like this song, and I'm like, oh, that's odd. Sometimes there's songs that I think are throwaways that I don't play for a while, and then somebody says they like it, and then I'll bring it back into the set list. Mm-hmm. So, I definitely learn a lot about, I think I'm getting to a point where I can almost predict it a little bit better now, where I'm like, oh, I think people like this one. Mm-hmm. Whereas other ones will be like, this one's like, fewer people are going to like it. This is more of a niche song, whereas this one, I think a lot of people are going to like this one. But I don't know, I still get surprised by it.
Mm-hmm. Audiences are helpful in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. What other thoughts do you have about songwriting or things that you want to say to the audience?
Not much besides, thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun. And, if you liked my stuff, I'm everywhere. Just Google Dylan Patrick Ward. I'm on all the streaming platforms and social media. And I have dylanpatrickward.com as my website.
Well, Dylan, it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah,
Very
same.
enjoyable music. Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was great to meet you. Yeah.
Thanks for watching our show. I would like to acknowledge the support of the Western Mass Songwriters Collaborative, promoting the original music scene in Western Massachusetts. If you want to learn more about the WMSC, go to their Facebook page. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Dan. I hope you'll tune in again for the show that puts a spotlight on songwriters.